This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from the Dagobah Orgy Dungeon, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom Show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster.
So you're dungeon. I'm assuming you're the only one in the dungeon. I'm working remotely, so I'm assuming
Master.
Is it in Java's Palace? Because if so, then I'm gonna let you keep that.
There's bound to be a few fillies in there.
Oh. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week. As you can tell, it is going to be a Star Wars centric show this week to celebrate Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And don't forget, also this weekend is Free Comic Book Day at your local comic shops, Saturday, May 6th. Before we get to our topic of Star Wars, though, let's
Monster,
make sure.
You almost left the holiday off. Friday is not only Revenge of the 5th, however, it's Cinco de Mayo. So for all us fat Americans, we celebrate another national holiday for an excuse to get drunk and eat tacos. I love it.
So this goes back to the story I told the other day about the kid outside playing with the translating CNC that would say, hello, my name is, and then it said in Spanish, this says, hola. And I can't say it now because I don't remember enough of my Spanish. I was like, but I just looked over and I was like, no, that's the other guy on the show.
See?
Oh, man. Let's thank our sponsors real quick before we get ourselves in trouble with them. Thank you to our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And with that, Hassel, I think, seriously, nobody calls me all day long. All of a sudden, in the middle of this, my phone starts ringing and vibrating. I'm like, what is this? Sorry for the noise. No, it's actually spam call.
He calls it spam, but that's code for Cobra.
No, that's spam because I don't know that number at all. But with that, let's just go straight into Geek Week so I can ignore these people some more. Well, Hassel, I'm going to let you go on Geek Week first this week. But before we do, I'm going to share a funny story with you because this happened right before we started recording. And if I don't share it now, I will forget it by the time I go. So I got an email telling me that my Hasbro Pulse membership expired. I need to renew it. I knew it was coming up. But they sent an email a month ago saying, hey, your membership will expire and you want to renew. We'll send you a note when it's time, when it's available in time for you to renew. Okay, I know that, and I knew it come up anyway. I keep a track of all these things. I knew it's April, May time frame that it comes up. However, they waited till today to send me the note saying, oh, your membership has expired. Would you like to renew it? I was like, expired? Why didn't you send me something like a week out telling me, hey, it's time to renew it if you want to?
Yeah.
And if anybody from Hasbro is listening to this, ever, you guys need to work on that subscription system. For one, you pay it by the year, and that's not too bad. And I get you tend to forget, but you got to work on getting the information to the folks earlier about when to renew or not. And because they let it fully lapse and expire, it erased all of my saved addresses.
Really?
Yes. So I had to go back in. My account's still there. All my orders are still there, and all the addresses on the orders are still the same. My saved addresses, because I have your address, my address, and another family member's address in there. So if I'm out of town for work, I can send it to their house so I don't miss out on it being dropped at the house. So, but I got to have mine for billing purposes, and it erased all of them. So I start re-entering all of them. Then I have to go in there and purchase it, and I have to re-enter. When I go in to purchase it, will not let me change the address because the first address I dropped in was my other family members just because it's okay. I got to look at it, so I'm gonna put it in first. Didn't set it as the default. Set my address as default, but when I go to pay, it's still pulling up their address, and I can't get it because it doesn't match my billing. So I got to delete them out again, re-enter them again, and with mine as the first one, so it picks it up as default, so I can actually pay them for my membership. I'm like, you are making this very difficult for me to just sign up just to get this membership a year. And I don't understand why they let it expire either, because the first year that they had it, if you bought into it the first year, second year, you actually got it for free as a bonus. And I bought in day one and got the second year for free as well. But now every year they can't do any promotions like that every year if they're going to kick you out as soon as yours expires and not tell you ahead of time. So I'm like, dude, I'd like to 1-800 Chuck
Is
over
the
there.
is it like a re-signing bonus or like the re-signing fees higher than the actual
No,
renewal?
it's been $50 since it started, and it's still
Really?
50. Yeah. Which, if you buy 2 to 3 items from them, by the time you buy that, you've covered the shipping cost that it saves you because you get free shipping. So it's worth it just in that respect. But also you get an hour early on orders and stuff typically, especially when they're doing their special events or their live events and stuff like their Pulse days and all. But it's just a pain. I mean, just to have to go through that much trouble just to re-up it, I'm like, this is much harder than it should be. But I had to share that one because I got frustrated because
Maybe we
I
need
was
to
about.
look into their clerical department.
Yeah, well, I was about to, we talked about a specific time we were going to start, and I was actually ready about 10 minutes earlier. And then I started fooling with that, and it took me 7 minutes of that 10 just to get that taken care of. Yeah. So after that, I will quit my rant now against Hasbro and let you have your Geek Week, sir.
Well, I don't blame you for being pissed off because I actually literally am the same way with Amazon right now. A couple of weeks back, I mean, it's probably been a month ago now. I guess it was. I found a Mr. America Elite on there. It was like $11. I was like, holy shit! It says Amazon, so I trust it. I ordered free shipping. So I got Amazon and all this shit. I'm like, score $11. Mr. America. Pretty happy about it. Well, then I noticed after I bought it, some days went by. It was like April 22nd was my delivery date. It was way the fuck out. And I was like, what the fuck? Well, it was coming from overseas. It was a third party Amazon deal. So I was like, shit. Well, okay. I get it for $11. I can wait. No problem. Well, the next thing you know, it was like the Saturday before last. I got a notification on my phone saying delivered. I'm home. Look outside. No, it's not. I thought maybe it's close. Maybe it's close by. Maybe whatever. So we go to the movie. That was when we went and seen Evil Dead. My wife took me out for my birthday. We went out and ate. Went to the movies. We come back home and we still come back at a reasonable time. You're talking probably it was about 7:30, something like that. The lights on the Alexa is ringing. It's got the little thing there letting you know a notification. And like a dumbass, I answer it. And it tells me my package has been delivered. So this creates a hole with my wife. Because like, oh, what have you ordered now? And she was not as interested in the fact that I got it on a bargain. She didn't want to, go for that there. It was just another action figure at the house. So I look outside, not there. So about a week goes by. I've done looked around, I've checked everywhere. It's not there. Nowhere. So I finally go to dispute it, and Amazon's dispute thing system is fucking aggravating.
Oh,
it was like an automated type thing, and then it finally connected me with somebody, and they were still like, well, have you checked with your neighbors? Like, yes, I went and knocked door to fucking door to ask some porch pirate that they have my fucking package. Come on. I mean, no. But, you have to say, yes, I've checked with everybody, but I don't have it. So give me my fucking money back. That's all I know to tell you. Give me my damn money. So finally, they give me my money back. It took 3 days to give it back to me. So I feel the same with Amazon right now because I did tell him, so you need to take that son of a bitch and sell her off there because he's a fucking crook. Because I got to looking at the company he shipped through was some foreign shit. Like it didn't even have like a US based name. So I'm like, these son of a bitches are putting fake tracking numbers in there and just taking people's fucking money. So yeah, there's that. So aside from that, this past week, we didn't do a whole lot this past weekend. We kind of did a little chill weekend, so to speak. I did watch the NFL draft last week, and I was extremely pissed off with the Falcons. I am not pleased. I mean, they didn't have a bad draft so much as it was they let a generational legacy talent that we could have easily signed. They just walked on him to get some random running back that he'll be a decent running back for about 2 seasons, and then 2 more seasons he won't be in the fucking league. And they was literally Carter from Georgia was literally right there. We had the 8th pick. I was extremely surprised when the team before us walked on him. I was like, holy shit. Because like it clicked. It was like, wow, we're finna be up and Carter's still on the board. And we had picked up some duds on free agency we ever paid for that play the same position, but still, this is the type of guy he's a franchise player. And we walked on him. Like I was in the living room, like it was about to be on the clock. I walked by there to where my wife was, talked to her for a few minutes. I said, I got to go. The Falcons about to pick, and Carter's on the board. So I run in there, and I'm getting all excited, and she hears me go to cussing. So I got a text message. She said, I'm guessing we didn't get who you wanted. We did not. We did not. And I said a few more ugly words, and she told me she's going to pray for me. So, yeah, that's how the NFL draft went.
That does remind me, though, the other day I saw a meme on Instagram, and it was I shouldn't say a meme. It's a reel from the 1984 NBA draft, and it shows I remember, I want to say it's the 76ers. It might have been somebody else who drafted the third pick, and everybody's sitting there expecting them to pick Michael Jordan because he didn't go 1 or 2. He was actually further down the line. I think Hakeem was number 1 that year, but sitting there, everybody's expecting the next person to be drafted as Michael Jordan, and they skip over and pick this somebody who in the league failed miserably from the very first outing, and they were sitting there all just cheering and all how done everybody else is just looking at them. You got to wonder, and the meme that was on is like, you got to wonder how these guys felt afterwards.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing. We went for a running back out of Texas. He played for the Longhorns. I mean, he's got some decent numbers, but I'd never heard of him. And in his little interview he done, he's like talking about watching Frozen with his sister and how much he enjoys that and sings a little verse of the song. I'm like, we walk on Carter, a fucking defensive beast for the Frozen kid.
There they go, Hassel. There they go.
Well, I'm still a little sore about it, Monster. I'm gonna be honest. Finished up watching the WWE draft last night. I'm gonna be honest, I was less than bowled over by that right there. I mean, it was every bit of it was very predictable on who went where. And it was
from what I saw, and I haven't watched last night's, but everything I've seen and heard, it was all predictable. And then they got, which makes no sense to kind of defeat the purpose of the draft that they gave free agency to certain people. And some of them I was like, okay, are you trying to build them? Like they gave free agency to Omos. Okay, are you trying to build him up, put him on both brands as this big guy? But then you turn around and gave it to D-listers as well. That they're free agents, they can go from either show. Just because basically you don't have enough people to book on one show, and you're trying to do 2.
Well, like now's the time to bring Braun Breaker up. You brought some people up from NXT, and then you didn't bring Breaker. Breaker would actually benefit from and the main roster could benefit from him right now. Instead, they left him in fucking NXT limbo. You brought up some ham and eggers that no one gets. Cameron Grimes. I mean, come on.
No, he's not terrible. He's a good lower card guy. He can have you some good start the show matches or mid show matches.
The only thing good about him is his damn catchphrase, so much money it ain't funny. That's all that's good about him. I mean,
but how as bad as all that is, you also got to wonder the best talent they have brought up from NXT in a long time must have slept with someone's wife or shot someone's dog, because LA Knight just disappears in the mix so much it gets nothing, and he's like one of the best ones they've got.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was hoping he was going to Raw and he's staying on SmackDown, and I was like, that's kind of a letdown because he's not going to be built on SmackDown the way he should. I mean,
oh yeah.
I really was hopeful because he's got a lot of breakout potential. Even Austin was hyping him up, about a week ago on Twitter. So, I mean, I was really hoping he would go on to Raw. I thought he would do well there because with him introducing a new world championship on Raw, you still got the other 2 titles there. They're not going off Roman no time soon. I'm actually wondering if they don't keep him on him to Mania next year now.
Quite possibly. I foresee Seth Rollins taking that other one just the way they keep pushing it. And you know what? As much as I don't like his character, I would love to see him and LA Knight have a feud and see LA Knight just diss him on the microphone a few times.
That would be fun right there. But I almost kind of want to see LA Knight. I don't want to see him as a baby face, but I don't really want to see him as heel. I want him to kind of get that Austin.
He needs to be the anti-hero type.
Yes, but he's just like fuck everybody. And
I would love to see what he would say to Seth Rollins if given free reign to say it, because like the night he walked in and they were playing PlayStation, he just takes his Avery Woods controller and breaks it.
Yeah, him and Woods actually had a pretty good back and forth.
That would be entertaining to watch. I would love to see that.
Seth is getting hard to watch. I'm gonna be honest. As talented as he is, bell to bell, I am not a fan of
He is so
this
hard to watch character-wise.
evolutionary character of his, and that laugh, I want to
Lord,
punch him
no.
in the face. Ooh, yeah. So the only thing interesting from WWE is the new title belt. I do like it. It looks good. So I wasn't real big on the big W still.
No, and it's right in the middle. It looks like they took the big gold belt and they just stuck the W's right in the middle of it. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's like
almost.
it's kind of off-putting. I mean, it looks better once you see it a couple times, but the first time I saw it, it was very off-putting.
I will say that even some of like really good creator wrestler guys that are on some of the pages I follow that upload stuff for 2K, they've tried their hand at that belt, and every one of them just looks bad. It looks real bad. So no one has mastered it yet. So aside from that, we did a review this past Sunday. I opened up a couple of Hasbro figures. I'm on the fence about opening Barbecue from Slaughter's Marauders because you can't display the damn box. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, do I need another barbecue for my shelf? Because you can see behind me, the shelves are quite full. I really need to finish the room because some things are transpiring where I may actually know it's worth finishing now. So I probably need to just start expanding around and going, but I haven't yet.
I am in the same boat, and I'll skip ahead just for a minute. In my Geek Week, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got about 12 boxes of figures that I haven't even opened that I was going to put on display, but I have no more space in my glass shelves or my bookcases, and 3 of them are Joe's. I've got 5 of them are Joe's. I actually went back and bought a couple older Joe's too. And I've got the full X-Men retro team that I haven't, and the ones in the uniform. I haven't put them out anywhere. I have nowhere to put them. That's the only reason I haven't done it.
I'm going to be in that same boat because I literally have both X-Men 3-packs coming along with a few other figures that they're on the way now. So,
I mean, I've been out of town too, but even when I've been here, like last night, I really wanted to open my Lieutenant Falcon and stuff and put it. And I could probably fit 1 or 2 more Joes in my shelves of Joes, but I got 5, and I'm like, where am I going to put them all?
dude, as bad as that face is, when you put a beret on it, it's not as bad. To be honest, the best thing was the most off-putting thing about the figure to me.
Yeah, I haven't opened him yet, so I can't really speak to him open. But I mean, yes, the head looks a little wonky and stuff, but at the same time, they're trying to do more stuff to make it more realistic looking head. Now they kind of failed on him, but like CoverGirls looks amazing.
Yeah, he just looks like Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, he's just got the lines they've done on the cheeks. He doesn't look like Duke's little brother. He looks like Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, it looks like Duke's dad.
Yeah,
they made it too old looking. Yeah,
it's not good. But I will say the Crimson Bat, even though he's just a repaint, he looks great with the Crimson Guard and the Twins. He fit in well with those. And Spirit, I can't talk highly enough about him after I opened him.
That's an amazing
He looks
one.
fucking great. And that was one I got on a deal. I got him for like $11 on Big Bad. I got him and Weapon X on the same sale. Weapon X was $10, so I kind of rounded out my Age of Apocalypse shelf. So I was pretty happy with that. And finishing up my Geek Week, we watched a movie the other night. It was A House on the Bayou. You know, Blumhouse done some of those, a couple of those, like a kind of like Netflix type deals for Amazon. And I've said they've done that movie Sick, and it was actually pretty good. And I mean, you can tell they're like, I won't say low budget, but you know, they don't have all the.
They're not a big budget production.
Yeah, they don't have all the special effects. I guess what I'm saying. They went for more practical, you know, kills or gore, so to speak. But this movie here actually wound up having some good twists and turns in it, and it wound up being like, it ended up being something I didn't expect. So I don't give too much away if anybody wants to watch it, but it ends up being a lot more than what you expect because you go into a thing on this one thing, and it starts unraveling. So okay, we're going with this, and then it ends up being something totally different. You're like, holy shit, it's actually pretty cool.
So I will piggyback off that for something because we haven't watched it yet, but I have seen it for a long time. I think it came out like 2016, 2017, but just flipping around trying to find something to watch the other day, and not necessarily wanting to watch any of the documentary shows we have. We got a bunch of the WWE documentary stuff, but you can only watch so many of those in a binge, and then you get kind of tired of them. But the kid and I were looking for something to watch, and I this movie popped up on there, and he's like, "What is that?" And we just played the trailer for it. But and I don't remember who made it, but it's been out for a while. It's Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, dude, you hadn't seen this yet?
I've never sat and watched it, but man, that looks
Holy
so funny
shit.
to see it from the perspective of these guys are not really the killers, but because the trailer tells you everything. They're not really the killers, but all these people get killed around, and people think that they are, and they're like, they're just trying to help them out, be nice guys, and they're just country bumpkins. It is hilarious looking.
Mr. Mittens put me on that one there, and I probably watched it about 5 or 6 times. It is fucking hilarious. It's a lot like Cocaine Bear when I was telling you about that, where it's one of those deals where it's got some gore in it, and kills, but it's more comedy than any damn thing.
Yeah, we saved it to watch it. We just didn't get to it. I did end up watching, just to jump ahead again, this King of Collectibles on Netflix. It's a guy who does this golden auction house. They do a lot of used to do a lot of sports auctions. They're getting to more and more stuff now, but like watching them try to get consignments and sell the stuff for a documentary type show, and there's only 6 episodes. It's actually a really good show, and it's really entertaining. And see some of the stuff they find is amazing. Like they had a oh man, I can't think of his name now. Had a jersey, Jackie Robinson jersey, and it went for $7.2 million. And the guy who had it wanted $10 million for it. They're like, 7.2 is the highest the jersey has ever sold ever. He's on the phone. He's like, if you think some billionaire is going to fall out of the sky and offer you 10 for it, he said it's probably not going to happen. So if you don't take the reserve off, it's not going to sell, and you're going to be stuck with it. He's trying to talk the guy into selling, and the guy just won't budge on it. He's like, no, it needs to be 10 million. He's like, all right. It didn't sell because it only got the 7.2. Wow. But I looked on their website afterward. They've got like Action Comics #1 on there. They've got some first appearance of Batman, Detective Comics on there. I mean, they got X-Men #1, Amazing Fantasy 15. They got a bunch of stuff on there for sale.
Wow.
But like the stuff they sell goes for high dollar. He went to a collector's house who was in Puerto Rico, and he collects mostly basketball memorabilia. But he had Michael Jordan's very first jersey worn onto the court, signed by him. He had almost every pair of shoes that Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan wore playing. Actually, they gave up that they didn't keep. He had all of those. I mean, he came back with like guys like, well, I need for this to be consigned. He said, I need like $12 million before you leave here today. He's like, done. Because he left with about $40 million worth of stuff to sell.
Yeah, but that's people with more money than sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting show to watch. Like they were showing Pokemon cards and selling some of them, and an F1 racing card that sold for like $1 million, or actually they didn't even tell the price of it. It was valued at over $1 million, and a private buyer came in to buy it instead of it going to auction because he really wanted it. And I'm like, all right,
one of the Pokemon cards that Paul kid wore at WrestleMania is supposed to be worth a couple $1 million.
So he is actually, and he's actually on this show on the last episode, the 6th episode, and because I guess he's set up with this Golden Company too as an investor. So they went down and did some box breaks for like a $360,000 box of Pokemon cards where they opened up all the packs and stuff live on there, see what they got. But yeah, he was wearing that card again on here, and they were talking about it. Peyton Manning's an investor in this. He's on a couple of the episodes, so it's pretty interesting to actually watch. I enjoyed it. I would say anybody who's into that kind of stuff. It's 30-minute episodes. It's quick watches. Just kick back and watch them. You can binge them really.
You have to give that a spin.
And I'm sorry. I know I jumped in and took over your geek weeks.
No, by all means, bro.
I mean, honestly, other than that, though, for me, the only other thing I did watch, and I don't think we shared it on here, but I watched the Star Trek Picard finale. I'll tell anybody who's a fan of Next Generation, that series, the last 2 episodes especially. I mean, the whole series was, but the last 2 episodes were complete fan service. It was fantastic. Beyond that, I really haven't had much time to do anything because I've been traveling and changing schedules and all, which is why we were skipped the weekend recording just because I was changing my schedule from day shift to night shift and afternoons. And I did pick up the other day from Molly's. I picked up, and I say this to share how bad comics are right now sometimes. I picked up a Young Justice Volume 2, which is the 90s Young Justice. It was very much drawn to be more animated, more kid-friendly, but the stories weren't necessarily fully kid, but they were supposed to be goofier and stuff in tone.
Yeah.
But you could pick it up, and it holds up much better than half of the stuff reading now, even though everything now is supposed to have a much more serious tone. It's just, I could pick it up, follow it, and enjoy reading it, whereas some books come in some months, and I'm like, oh, I got to read that because I bought it.
Well, that's where I'm at. Well, that's why I picked up I finally bit the bullet and got the first trade paperback of the Age of Apocalypse, so I got all 3 parts now, and I'm going to start going back and reading those all over again, because it's been, quite a few years since I read it, and I don't think I ever read it in like full, I just read like the main story. So
Yeah. I think I read most all of it except for a couple of the books that I didn't care for, but I bought all three of those, and that's the ones I've been taking as I travel. When I go, I try to take at least one graphic novel and read it while I'm out of town, and then change it out for next. I'm on like volume 2 of that right now. I just finished one on the last trip I was on.
Well, I've had the second and third one in my closet for like a year or better, at least, because they were always finds. And then we could never find the first one, and I was like, you know what? I kept going to Ollie's and checking, and
I bought the 2 and 3 like you from Ollie's, and I wonder if they just didn't get any stock of one, because I never found it either. I bought the number 1 volume off Amazon for like $10 when it was on sale around Christmas time.
Well, I think I got like $13 in discount and shipping, so it was an eBay buy. So I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, and with that, the last thing I had for Geek Week, though, which takes us directly into our focus topic, is I did get Jedi Survivor. And since we're going into Star Wars, figure I'll start there. But I actually played that all weekend. It's a very, very fun game. I enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order. The Survivor picks up a little bit after that, and you don't have to watch or play the first one. You start this, and you already have the first one. You have to get your lightsaber, and you have to get all the stuff to build the different pieces of the saber, like to change out how it looks and what kind of metals and all this. This time you start with some of that already. You get to pick your blade color from the first time you get to a workbench. You don't get to start with that way, but you get through most of the first level, you get a workbench. You can update it immediately with all that stuff. You carry most of your main force powers. You start getting new ones in this one. You got to learn those. That's your skills and level up. And I would say the only thing I've had a complaint on this one was 2 things. Number 1 was the open world parts are much more open than the first one, so it's kind of hard to necessarily, if you want 100% the game, you're going to have to spend a lot of time just wandering around looking for stuff. I 100% of the last one, but I went through the whole story and then came back to find all the little stuff that I missed, and I used the player guide just because I wanted to hit the 100%.
Yeah.
I'll probably do the same with this one, because the open world section seemed to be much more open, and like you can get lost in those sometimes. Like I was here, I missed killing this person and taking this trunk thing over here, but now I'm way off in another area, and I'm like, how do I even get back there?
That was what was fucking me up on Zelda on Switch, because I was like, I just get to running like hell, and then they say, I'm somewhere. It's like, where the hell am I at? And then you get caught up in like fighting trolls or whatever, and it's like you just wander.
Fully open world, right? But there are certain planets when you get to them, you only have a certain amount of area you can actually cover on any planet or anything you go to, but it seems to be much larger than the last one. And it's like the planet I'm on right now, in the second level, I'm only like 13% or so into the game, and I'm like, I can't find half the stuff I'm trying to find. I'm like, where this is much larger open area than the last one. Like, how do I get to the next step?
That's actually the next game on my list to buy, because I've destroyed GM mode and I did win. It took me a little while, but I did win it. I've beat all the showcase. I was about to start a universe. So, because I was going to do a second season of GM, and like I went through my draft, and like I was done selecting, and like in the first time around it said quit drafting, you quit and you're done drafting. No, it kicked me all the way back out, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not redrafting. so I stopped after one season because I won anyway. So,
and I'll say too, the other complaint I had with this game though was when I started it. As you play, it does cut scenes in the middle of playing, and sometimes they're even talking while you're playing. So it puts the subtitles, but I'm trying to play, so I'm not really reading the subtitle at the same time I'm trying to play. In the previous game, you could hear all that very well. In this one, when I started out, the sound kept cutting in and out. And I got looking online, a lot of people were having problems. And I thought, well, maybe it's the game, it's a bug. And I've heard some people saying, oh, they're going to fix a bug. I ain't 100% sure it's a bug. What I figured out finally is that I just, for whatever reason, after playing it the first night I had it, and I had been traveling all that day, so I didn't play very long. I was tired. So I played a little bit. Next morning, it was still doing it. And I was like, well, shit, I missed half the cutscenes I saw last night, as well as the talking during the playing. I'm going to try and figure it out. It took me about 30, 40 minutes. I finally figured out. I went to just the Xbox settings. Like, maybe something's different. It changed my stereo settings to 7.1 channel. Well, I only have 5.1 surround sound, so that's why I wasn't getting any of the talking, because it's on the 6th and 7th channel. So as soon as I set it back to 5, it started working fine, but I was never set on that originally because none of my other games did that. But when you put this one in and loaded it, and you know how you go through some of the games, you say, oh, here's your darkness level, your light, your brightness, all this. I think when it did that, it automatically changed my sound settings too, because I went there and just figured out, hey, why is this on 7.1? I've never owned a 7.1 audio bar. I have a 5.1. So I changed it. Works perfectly fine now. But it took me forever, and I was so pissed because I missed half of the first level of what they said.
I know what to do now when I buy it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the only good thing for me is that the kid wanted to play and he wants his own story mode too. So like when he started playing, I was rewatching the story as he was playing, so I can see what did I miss. But beyond that, we're in the Star Wars, so I know we didn't plan a whole lot of stuff on this one, but I think what we were going to do was just kind of bounce around some. Is there any topics in particular you wanted to cover?
Well, before we dive in, I did want to share this with you. This was the tail end of my stuff. One of our listeners did make me aware we have spawned a drinking game. So one of our listeners reached out to me and told me that they enjoy watching with their friends. They get a core group of them around, and they kind of watch the show, listen to it while they do like some gaming and whatnot and D&D and shit. And apparently, every time you or I take a sip of beverage, they take a shot. And every time I drop an F-bomb, they take a shot.
Interesting.
So apparently we have spawned the Nerdy Manroom Show drinking game. And somebody just had to do double shots right there. Triple. Oh, man. Monster,
I did that shit on purpose. There you go.
So cheers, people. We're glad we could help you be alcoholics.
Now that you said it, I'm just going to start randomly just...
Yeah, maybe want to amp up my consumption.
Oh, man. Well, we were going to cover Star Wars because it is Star Wars Day this week, and we'll be upfront. We're recording a couple days early, so this will come out on Star Wars Day is our plan. A couple things that I had that I wanted to cover with you is I saw some. I didn't really see that many of the Star Wars Celebration announcements. So if there's any of those we want to cover, that's fine. But one of the big ones I did see, and I got to approach it first just because I hear everybody else talking about it. Kathleen Kennedy retiring once her contract ends. Do you have any care one way or the other about this? Because this seems to be a very hot topic for most people.
I don't understand why. I mean, do they think that it's going downhill because she's gone?
No, I think most people are saying it's going to get better because she's gone.
I can see that.
Because a lot of people, because when she took over and started as the head of Lucasfilm or whatever her title is, which I honestly do not know off the top of my head, but it started around between episode 7 and episode 8.
Well, I was just going to say, wasn't it between 7 and 8 when she kind of influenced and they went with Ryan, whatever his name is, and
yes, and everybody is very much on that if she leaves, it should get better.
Well, dude, I'll be honest. Episode 7, I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, even though the only letdown I had is like everybody, fucking Luke, you get 3 seconds of him at the end. That's really all you got. And the whole movie, I kept like, where's Luke? Where's Luke? Where's Luke? But the story was good enough with the other characters.
Yeah,
it holds you. Like I've watched it multiple times. It's one of the few of the sequels I have watched multiple times. And it's enjoyable. Kylo Ren was made to be a badass in this movie. I mean, that first opening where he just stops a blaster, and then just lets it, I was like, whoa, this motherfucker bad. So I was like, okay, cool. And then the next one was just like such a letdown. They assassinated Luke Skywalker's character completely. Yes. And I was like, holy shit. Because, you like everyone, we all heard rumors. And Mark Hamill did do a great job of trying to suppress them and not let out his frustration completely out until later on. And then he was finally like, fuck this shit, I'm talking. But for a while, he was, doing a really good job of downplaying it. But you see why he was so fucking frustrated. I mean, it's like, this is not Luke Skywalker. And I can promise you that George was about to stroke.
So I will say that I think that she played a large part in why they went the direction they did in those movies, and they kind of. So I can't blame everything on her of what's good and what's bad in it. So I'm not going to say that, but with her leaving, I think that some things will change. I will say this though: I think it's not all just her though. I think it's also the case of, as Jim Cornette says, "How can I miss you if you don't go away?" There is so much content put out. and don't get me wrong, they've had the content for years, like comics and everything else, but not everybody gets into that. Most people, when you had the movie, you had an event. And this is one of the things they said at Star Wars Celebration. It didn't feel like an event anymore because now you have a TV show dropping, another TV show. Then you got a movie in between. This movie might tie up all these TV shows together, but at the same time, they don't feel like events. It's just like, oh, it's so saturated in the market that at some point you're like, we had the first three, and then we had years before they re-released them, and then we had a few more years before we got to the prequels, and then we had several more years before we got to the following sequels. It's like that made them all feel like an event. Rogue One was completely different. It felt like an event. Once you started doing like the Han Solo early years movie or whatever it was like,
Solo was the kind of the linchpin for me. Like I still haven't even watched Solo. I've tried to watch it. I sat down and I made it probably, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes into it, and I never finished it. Like for whatever reason, typically if I'm watching anything Star Wars, I don't give a shit what comes up. I'm finishing this movie. Well, this one, something come along at that time. It's like pause, never went back to it.
Yeah.
So to me, that was where I kind of felt like it was coming off the rails. Because I will say, with Episode 7, they did a great balance there between Finn and Rey, where you had both. You're like, well, who is going to be the real, main character moving forward? And I love a good heroine minus chasing the dragon as much as anyone. But you could just tell by Episode 8, it's like we're going to fully embrace girl power. And it's not that, I'm not saying that because I'm a horror fan. It's always a final girl. It's never a final guy. So, I mean, that doesn't bother me. But it was just like it went such a 180 almost, it seemed like. And poor Finn got just cast off.
Yeah, that was my problem. It wasn't even that it was a heroine. It's the fact that they completely...
Yeah.
They had a male and a female lead in 7. And you had your antagonist stuff too, but the male and female protagonist leads, and then all of a sudden the protagonist male is just like, did he quit? Where'd he go?
Well, in 7, you get the vibe like maybe them two might be somewhat a little bit romantic. And as you know, they just throw this little Chinese lady at poor Finn, and he's just cast aside.
And dude, they did her so dirty going into 9, like she's completely written out of it. I was like, she was actually becoming a likable character, She was not a bad character by any means.
Fairly early into it, and he was no longer force sensitive because we knew he wasn't going to be a Jedi, but you did get the vibe he was force sensitive. No more of that.
Yeah. I will say that the whole thing about it, just being not an event anymore has really killed me because even watching, and I love some of the TV shows, but even watching them, I'm like, at the same time, I'd rather went to the theater and seen a movie if this was going to be shortening this up, making a movie or something.
I don't know, man. Certain ones, like I loved Obi-Wan. I've watched it 3 times in its entirety. I love Mandalorian. I don't catch it on Wednesday. Typically, I wait to Thursday because I watch AEW on Wednesday. So unless I stay up late, like with Obi-Wan, I was staying up late and I was watching Obi-Wan after AEW, without a doubt. Mandalorian, the first season I was that way. Second season was kind of, but this last season, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was really good. But I was able to wait till Thursday when me and my wife could sit there and watch it together.
Yeah, and I usually waited on it too for the kid because he's not here during the weekend. We watch on the weekend and stuff. But so let's jump over to Mando though, because I don't think we talked about the finale on here any because it came out in between us recording. So. How did you feel about the finale? Let me ask you that before I throw my 2 cents in.
I kept expecting the last 3 episodes, or going into the last 3 episodes, I was like, the armor is going to fucking be a dirty bitch and turn on them. So I was pleasantly pleased that she did not be the dirty bitch I thought she was going to be. And I mean, they've done a great job with Grandma. What was his?
That was Gideon, right?
Gideon, yeah. I he was a great villain.
Oh yeah.
The thing that threw me for a loop was the totally destroying the Darksaber. I mean, I get he's got the super Beskar armor and he added Empire tech to it to make it super strong and whatnot, but I don't know. I didn't feel like that he could just crush it with his hand, even with the Iron Man type soup he had. I don't know. I was a little bit like, I don't know about that.
That was a little bit off. I will say the I did like how they did the clones, and he was trying to create. That's what you finally figured out. That's kind of what he wanted Grogu for. Is how do I create a clone that can actually control the Force? And
well, so you thought that maybe he was a pawn of Palpatine, and not maybe he was trying to further, Palpatine's resurrection. Because I'm still wondering where Snoke comes in all this, other than I guess he was like failed experiments, for the Emperor. But I did think we'd get something on that right there a little bit, maybe.
Well, and going into the last couple episodes, they kept talking about all the titles were about spies and traitors and stuff, and they're talking about that one girl on Coruscant who worked for Gideon, and he's sharing information. They got the doctor and stuff executed for him, or mind wiped, or whatever it was they did to him. That's what they're talking about, I think. But as you watch it, you're thinking like, oh, well, which one of these people on the Mandalorian side is betrayed him? Just like you said, the armor. Was it the armor? Or was it Bo? Was it Axe Woves? Who was it? It was none of them. They kind of like they played that up to be the spy and terrorist thing, but then they downplayed it, and they just left you hanging. Well, what happened to that girl who was on Coruscant?
Yeah, like
she's just there. Her boss is gone now, and she's like, well, what am I going to do?
She's left out in the wind. You get no true, because the show wraps up almost like they're not anticipating another season. I know they haven't announced yay or nay, or I haven't heard.
Yeah, they announced a celebration. They are doing a 4th season.
Okay. Well, see, it was almost like they was wrapping up everything.
This would have been shot. This would have been shot before that, so maybe they didn't know.
Well, it was like very much like, okay, we're gonna give you your happy ending, just in case we don't have another season. And I was kind of cool with the way it went. I mean, Din Grogu, I'm fine. I'm cool with that right there. I like that. And that little fella helped out at the end, and I loved him and the android armor. Shit.
The IG-12.
Yeah. I love that. Right? Just no.
That was
I just kept wanting to be like, yes. Break out the team hell no.
That's all you tell him. Get out of the armor. No. He was just so matter of fact. No.
Yeah, that was actually really good. It was the right humor. Like, I'm not super big on humor and serious shit, but it was at the right times and place, and it fit. If it's not forced, I love it. But it's when it's forced, it's like, come on.
Yeah, but it was very weird with the ending too, where they just wind them up on the planet together, and they're like, he's just sitting there on the porch, and the kids out there playing. I'm like, that's kind of a So if you come back for season 4, are we going to still have him, or are we going to turn and focus on Bo? Because basically the last half of this season, you flipped everything on its head to be Bo.
It did shift to her.
Reunite on.
You could go either way, because don't get me wrong, the rebuilding of Mandalore, that will be very interesting. Because there's still more Imperials there, even though they killed off Gideon.
Yeah.
There's still more Imperials there because there was an entire base hidden there. So you got that to explore. I think it would be pretty interesting having Mando as not only a bounty hunter working with the rebels or the Alliance now, whatever New Republic or whatever, but be he's sheriff of that planet basically, because that was kind of offered to him. So that's a good thing to go with. And then where do they go with Grogu? He ends up playing with the Force more than at the end of it, playing with the frog or whatnot. And so they got a lot of good ways they can go. The biggest letdown I had was the Boba not getting his, because the guy, that plays Boba Fett, he was like, well, I was supposed to be a part of this season, then never got the call. Like, I guess it had been discussed. And I'm assuming what he was going by, because he did bring up the fact that he felt kind of disheartened by the fact that, they brought, the Mandalorian into, the Book of Boba Fett.
And he almost season 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, like he pretty much brought up. He said, we brought him into our season, and he almost took over. He pretty much downplayed my story arc, and you can tell the guy's a very selfless guy. I mean, the actor, it escapes me, but he seems like a really great guy. He's very, not, one of those me guys. So he done what the company wanted to do, what he thought was for the best, but he was like, basically, my arc gets downplayed. He comes in like, where I'm struggling with all this shit. He's in his boss in and kicks everybody's ass and then leaves.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to make a good comeback and help save him in his show, and then just never got the call. Like, I don't even know what he's like. Even he was like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I also think that they also left something out there that you could explore later on if you want to do another season, and maybe that's why they left it. But like they never explain. Nobody's supposed to know how to get this Beskar armor, how to use it, how to mold it and build it from the forge, except for Mandalorians. Yet somehow Gideon arms an entire trooper unit with Beskar armor as well as himself.
Yeah.
Like, where did he learn this? Where did he get it from? Where did he get his helmet, which was Mandalorian
upgraded
looking?
Beskar at that, not just regular forged Beskar, upgraded. Because their suits were pretty badass. I mean, they still had a lot of flaws in them apparently, because he killed the shit out of everybody. That was probably the coolest part of that episode. Was he goes on this like John Wick spree to get to Grogu, or Grogu's with, I'm sorry, to get to Gideon. He goes on this level by level. Like, so,
and every time he upgraded a weapon.
Yep, that was awesome.
That was actually really cool. I actually liked that part a lot. But speaking of Mando, some of the stuff from Celebration that they shared. The trailers for Ahsoka, which looks amazing, and the fact that they're bringing back all the characters from Rebels and in live action in person, that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see that. We're supposed to
get Ezra in this, right?
Possibly. I know we're getting Thrawn back, so they're saying that Ezra disappeared with Thrawn at the end of the Rebels, so maybe that'll bring him back as well. I'd like to see him. My only complaint with Thrawn is it feels like they're doing that and they're going now to do the heir to the Empire, but that was a Luke Skywalker centric story with him against Thrawn. And you could have done that for your final sequels. Why didn't we already use that for the sequels before we went to 7, 8, 9 stuff?
Two things I want to say. If we don't get out of Ahsoka, that'll be what I'm let down with. One, you got to have at least one episode with Luke. Because, I mean, they were pretty central with each other during, The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then I almost feel like we really need that Hayden Christensen Force Ghost Ahsoka scene.
That would be nice.
Kind of like a big apology, because he was her master. Then they met and battled when he was Vader, but he was no longer Anakin. He was Vader. So how cool would it be for him to be able to, as a Force Ghost, be very remorseful and be like this, like he was looking through the eyes, but he wasn't there. Okay, I mean, like I'm trying to think of the analogy I'm using, but you've seen that in other things where it's like,
yeah,
I wanted to reach out and scream, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of that. I'm curious how many seasons they're going to try to make this, and how much of the timeline does it bridge the gap between Episode 7 and everything that we're seeing right now with the Mandalorian and all that? Because at some point Snoke takes over and stuff, so something's got to happen to Thrawn in this. So I don't see how you do the full heir to the Empire story in this, which is all about the Emperor cloning himself and coming back, versus you did that already somewhat in these sequels.
Maybe Thrawn's who actually sets up Snoke, but then Thrawn gets killed along the way, which will be interesting. I mean, there's a good 20 years still to play with there, so a lot can happen in 20 years.
I know they're also premiering this week. I think on the 4th they're going to premiere the Young Jedi Tales, which is kind of like the kids show for seeing the Jedi and stuff. And there's another show that's supposed to drop this week, and I can't remember what it is now. Maybe it's Visions too.
I was going to say, wasn't there another season of that? Whatever the shorts, animated shorts were. Visions. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones.
I wasn't sure when it was dropping, but I did see it was coming out.
Every episode's a different creator, a different story, but it's mostly anime style or Western style or other stuff, right? That Visions is supposed to, I think, drop this week as well. That's what it was, I think.
Yeah, I hadn't heard much news from that. I'm still kind of like, where are they going with this? Is it going to be a movie, I guess, with Rey?
So the two
like a spinoff deal.
The two movies I saw them announce is that eventually, when they get ready to wind up this universe with the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, all this time frame and Ahsoka and all that, will all wrap into one movie to tie off all these from where the show's end. There's going to be one movie to bridge the final gap, I guess, before you get to Force Awakens.
Okay.
And there's not much details about that right now, other than it's going to have all those characters in it, and they'll all be somewhat central to the story in different ways. But then there's supposed to be the new movie with Rey coming out. She's back, and it's going to be, I guess, the next stage of what would be, I guess, I don't know if it's going to be another trilogy or another storyline.
Didn't they show her like a baby bump, like she's pregnant?
So I've seen pictures of that, and I've seen stuff that says that was not part of it. So I don't know. I saw that, and at first I was like, Really? I had no problem with her character being pregnant or whatever, but the story was that she's going to have a child by the Force, and it's going to be like, okay, wait a minute, we've already done this. This was Vader's whole story.
You cannot do that right there.
No,
you can't. Because I mean, she has been very quiet about that. I will give her credit, but she has been more vocal about the past 3 movies in the last little while. And I guess once this got announced, she started speaking Star Wars again. Because I mean, she's come out and openly said several times, like, "Look, I was supposed to be Obi-Wan's daughter. I wasn't supposed to be a Palpatine." And honestly, I would have liked that better. I think
I would have to. And I've never been a fan of. Oh, I'll just pick my last name and I'll be a Skywalker. No?
Yeah.
Why? How?
It would have been more meaningful, honestly, had she been how fit and how cool would it have been? Obi-Wan trained Anakin, who trained, and Obi-Wan also trained Luke. And now Obi-Wan's daughter comes back, and you know what I'm saying? It almost feels full circle-ish a little bit. Like maybe redemption for Obi-Wan, because let's be honest, Obi-Wan had to feel tarnished and, like I failed by Vader. And it didn't exactly do the best job with Luke. Yoda had to kind of help him there.
Yeah.
So, it would almost feel like this would be the redemption for the Obi-Wan or the Kenobi family.
So I'm not sure 100% where it's going, but I'm curious to see it. But I will say this. It's going to be sequels and the main trilogies we've already had. What's funny to me is that a year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, the big thing was that we're not going to do any more stories in the Skywalker saga type era. It's not going to touch any of that anymore. We're going to do the High Republic. And that's what the books and the comic books are right now, is the High Republic, which is the time even before the Republic.
Yeah. Like 1,000 years before, isn't it?
Yeah, like Yoda is a Jedi. Yoda is still on the council and a Jedi Master, but at this point he's like just getting on the Jedi Council type of stuff. They just bring him over. But the main character for that was drawn to look like, and everybody said it's based off of, it's supposed to be Brie Larson because she wanted a character in Star Wars, and that's what they were going to give her, and it was going to be movies centered around her character, and she was going to be in Star Wars. And then there was this is one of Kathleen Kennedy's things from what we read. I don't know for sure, but that's what we read. And then apparently all that was like, no, this is not going to happen now because the fans are open arms about it, so we're just going to slide it to the side. We'll keep doing comics and books, but we're not going to do movies of it now. So it's like, okay.
Well, it's a lot easier to eat the cost on maybe 100,000 copies of one issue or something versus millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars.
And I will say this, the comic books, I've been buying the comics, and they're not terribly bad. I mean, it's about it's the early days of going to the Outer Rim, trying to expand the Republic, and they find some enemies that actually have these. They haven't said what they are yet. They've just shown like little bits and pieces, like shadowy, off in the distance of these different creatures.
That's the thing. It's not that the character might not be interesting. Brie Larson has showed herself to be a cancer to whatever project she's attached to.
Well, yes.
I mean, people are already shitting all over the Marvels, and it haven't even really been hyped at all, other than a couple of posters at the theater. You hadn't seen hardly shit on it, and people are already like, "Fuck it, I'm done with it." They're shitting on that more than they are Kang beating up his girlfriend.
Oh Lord, we're going to stay away from that one before we get ourselves in trouble. But and I think that's the reason that it's getting pushed back is because of her involvement in it. However, the story itself is not bad, and it's got like these creatures that negate force powers and also instill fear in force users. So it like takes away all the Jedi's ability to do what they actually do. So it's almost like there were some stories later on in the expanded universe or the previous set of runs, which was it now Legacy or whatever it is, but the Yuzan Vong or whatever they were called. And I'm sure Big Rob could correct me on how I'm saying that, but those were creatures that took away force powers of the Salamari or whatever it did that Thrawn used. But these are this same sort of scenario, but this group that's using this is wreaking havoc and causing terroristic attacks all across the universe to oppose the Republic. So you already have that dynamic going on here in the stories, and they're not bad. It's just people have pushed it away probably because of the involvement of Brie Larson, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever's involved with it. They don't like. They just kind of like no.
Well, I'll tell you what. While we're sticking with the Marvel comic side of things, what would you say is probably the best run of books they've done since they took over the Star Wars franchise a couple of years ago?
I see. I haven't really bought that many of their books. I'm buying the High Republic just because I wanted to see what it was about. And like the first issue sold out very well, and then after that, you can find every issue everywhere. I don't know. They the ones who did the or was it Dark Horse? Whichever one did the Visions was the best to me because it's like different stories.
Visions was Dark Horse right there.
Yeah.
Like literally, when Marvel took over, they done a couple of Vader one shots that was like, or I say one shots, they're mini series, like 6 issues or so. Then they done like a Star Wars main title that started out like between episodes 4 and 5. Yeah. Yeah, episodes.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, shortly after the Death Star's destroyed, you kind of had that gap there, and then they moved on. And then they done, they were doing prequel type books, with like Mace Windu and Qui-Gon, some stuff like that with Kenobi, some prequelish type stuff. Like to me, I really loved what they done on like the main Star Wars title that was in between 4 and 5. It's like literally there's one issue where Boba Fett's the one that breaks the news to Vader, like they said a kid's name was Skywalker, and Vader's like standing in front of the glass with his back to him, and the glass starts cracking on the Star Destroyer because he's like. Pretty much, Bubba's like, what did I say? One of those type deals. But he said, I don't know. They said the kid's name is Skywalker. And you see Vader, like, then he tries to play it cool. There was all these nods like that right there. Then, Vader starts going on that's how he starts going on the hunt for it. Because initially he's just like, who the fuck was this who fucked up my Death Star? Maybe a little stupid. Because, the Emperor rakes him over the coals and punishes, which is some of the things that translated in the Vader miniseries is he was sending him on various tasks and it was pretty much punishing the fuck out of him for failing.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't get that.
TIE fighter down on an island and on this planet, and he has to like pretty much his battle damage on his limbs, and he has no saber, and he has to fight off all this shit. There's like stormtroopers down there shooting at him, so he knows it's a trap, but then he has to fight his way through it.
I've heard very good things about that book. I didn't pick it up and read it. I would tell you the only other Marvel books I think I bought was I bought the graphic collection because I found them in Ollie's on sale for the Kanan Jarrus, which is the character from Rebels that taught Ezra. They had the collected edition there, and I bought it. I like that because it gave him more of a backstory because you really didn't see his backstory other than where he was on the planet and then the clones turned on him and killed his master. So I was like, that was pretty cool, but I enjoyed reading it, but everybody says the Vader one was really great. I never picked it up, and I wanted to.
There was a couple of different Vader minis. They're all great. And the first, I'd say, 2 years of the main Star Wars title, it was good. But it got to a point to me where they started like a new something every time we turn around. It's like, okay, you're getting too far out there.
Yeah.
Because like a couple of issues of the main title, it wasn't all just about Luke and Vader. Like it had Han, Leia in there, and it was like the chick that wound up was Han's wife. She shows up.
Kira.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of cool backstory type things that would show up in there. And it was like I said, the first 2 years was good. Then it just got too many lines out there, and I was like, you know what, I can't do it anymore.
So I will say this, and then we'll move on because I know we're running shorter on time now. But my whole thing about reading those books about the main series is, if they're telling a story of like, okay, what happened to Luke between this and this, like there's one story in there where he gets a yellow saber that he has to build because he's lost Vader. He lost Anakin's old saber from File City and stuff when his hand was chopped off. He hadn't built his green one yet. So they show him build this other one on this planet. That's cool because it's filling in gaps in story. It's when they bring up something new like Kira being in there, the Han's wife. So there's a story right now they're doing where like she's running a criminal organization called Crimson Sun or whatever, and she's trying to take over and defeat the Empire and take its place. And I'm like, I don't really want to read that because I know the ending already. I mean, that's like watching Titanic. We know what happens.
Yeah. Well, did you see the promo images where they got like Luke, where he's got like a maybe it's I don't know if he's got the blue or green saber in his hand, or he's got a red saber also. They made a big deal. Some promo for like one of the new books, and they're kind of like he's sitting there with both of them, and he almost like in black stormtrooper armor. So it's like, what the fuck? I mean, at what point did this supposedly transpire?
Well, in Heir to the Empire, he did learn how to use all the dark side forces, and they tried to turn him, but he was still in control of himself the whole time. But he wanted to completely master all of the Force abilities.
Yeah, so that he could be a true master. I get that there. So I don't know if maybe this was supposed to transpire after episode 6. I'm not sure.
But it'll be interesting to see. But with that, we have gone a little bit long, so let's jump straight into Nerd Out. For anybody who hasn't been here before, this is part of the show. We ask random questions around the topic of the day. You have to respond with no prep time. If you want to expand upon our answers or give your own, please feel free to do so in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. And if you don't agree with us, we'd love to tell you why you're completely wrong.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, Hassel, since you went Geek Week first, you get to go first on this.
All right. So fans are always divided amongst whether they want to shit on the prequels or the sequels. No one fucks with the Holy Trinity. It's prequels or sequels.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go the shitting route. However, if you could alter or change the prequels or the sequels, which would it be? And what would you do?
The sequels. And I would just basically do Heir to the Empire. And I don't mind them introducing new characters like Rey and Finn and stuff, but I just the way they killed Luke's character after 8 and destroyed his new Jedi Order he was building and everything, I'd rather not even see 8 and 9. And I wouldn't. Yes, I know that they're getting in the age where they're not going to be there forever, but you had to kill off Carrie Fisher's character because she's gone. So Leia is gone. Did you really have to kill Han? Did you really have to kill off Luke? I don't.
You know what, Han? I'm sorry, Harrison Ford wanted to kill off Han on like episode fucking 4.
Yeah.
He or not 4 or 5. I mean, he wanted to die and didn't want to be brought back. He thought his story was done.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. And you don't even necessarily have to have him to do Heir to the Empire, but if you did done something along those lines with Grand Admiral Thrawn taking over, and then have Luke learning and mastering all the Force abilities and starting a new Jedi Order, I wouldn't mind Rey and Finn being there then and being new people that Luke finds and starts training even though they're adults. Because this is new Jedi Order. It doesn't have to be the way things were done in the past, but just the way they played out 8 and 9, yes, Luke had one really cool scene where he sends his Force spirit all the way to this planet and actually fights and stuff. I'm like, that's pretty cool, but
yeah,
you got one great moment. The rest was like trash. So
that was one of the great things about the only great things they done with the sequels or beyond the episode 7. The Force Ghost having a ability to have physical presence, kind of.
Yeah.
Like he held his own. Yoda shows up, knocks Luke in the damn head, and then lightning to the, what he has left. It's like, you know what I'm saying? They had a physical presence. It's like, oh shit, man, just because you're one with the Force don't mean you can't still fuck Rey's shot, which might be how Rey gets pregnant. Maybe Kylo's Force Ghost is knocking them boots. She's getting Force stick.
Forward. Yeah, so I'm gonna let you answer now, because man, I'm gonna make somebody drink.
Cheers.
Just because we went at the same time, that still counts as 2 people.
That's 2. So, I mean, let's be honest. With the prequels, everybody would redo the first one, or parts of the first one. The second one's good. Third one is fucking great. I mean, I enjoy episode 3 about as it's close to Empire to me. I enjoy those 2. They're 2 of my top ones. So I'm not fucking with the prequels. I'm not wasting my time just because of the first episode. So I'm going sequels as well. And I'm going to go along the lines of what you're doing there. I'm cool with Kylo already being or Ben Solo being a bad guy. It's not going to be because fucking Luke tried to assassinate him in his fucking sleep.
Yeah, I know.
We're not going that route. In my sequels, so to speak, the Jedi Temple is established. Luke is leading it. Rey is there as a youngling and a Kenobi, but you don't know she's Kenobi yet. Only Luke knows. You got Kylo Ren who just veered off the wrong path. He was a student of Luke, but Snoke gets into him. I'm fine with Snoke kind of being a puppet still. I'm cool with that. We can do that. He gets into, Ben's head, draws him to the dark side, making him think his granddaddy's speaking to him when he's not. I would have a little Force Ghost action between Luke and Anakin. I think that would be a really cool sequence. At some point, maybe not just him and Anakin, but him, Anakin, and Obi-Wan would be pretty neat. Like a little sit down between the 3. Or how cool would Qui-Gon and Luke conversation be?
That I like to see.
That could be like super cool. But Luke would be the Grandmaster. He wouldn't be fucking hiding away drinking blue milk. We're not doing that shit. And I'd probably have Finn still be, a traitor from the Empire.
Actually, I like that for him. That was a decent
I would
arc.
build upon that arc right there. I would have had him still going with Han. I'd have just pulled Rey away from that, and then they meet up at some point because Han has to seek out Leia and Luke for the help to try to redeem Kylo, and they really still build upon that same arc you had in 4, 5, 6, where Luke is not giving up on Ben because of the fact that he knows there's still good in him, and they had that whole arc. And by the end of episode 8, if Ben kills Luke, I'm fine with that in battle, so that Rey can, make the transition, Rey and Finn for the final battles in 9. I'm fine with that. That's cool. We can do that. And then you got Force Ghost Luke. But that is the thing. We would have Force Ghost Luke. Because unless I'm forgetting something, I don't recall him coming back after his little thing in, what was it, 7? 8?
I don't remember if he did or not. I know he spoke, but I don't remember seeing
He
it.
didn't speak in 9, though.
Yeah, that's true, too.
I mean, we were all waiting on like some kind of, Obi-Wan and Luke, dialogue between him and Rey, and we didn't get that. Or I don't remember. I think I've seen that movie twice. I didn't watch it a third time.
Unfortunately, that's the last two of all of them are forgettable, unfortunately.
So that's kind of the path I go, and then we wind up still with the Emperor returning, due to cloning or whatnot. But it takes...
Somehow I have returned.
Yeah, we could go that route. But Finn, Rey, and Kylo, all 3 take him on.
That would be interesting. So my question for you this week: what character or concept from Star Wars universe would you like to see get a one season show?
Darth Maul.
That would be interesting.
Like pick up after Clone Wars and all that shit, where he's like doing the crime syndicate stuff. I mean, actually, like really build upon that right there. That could be really cool.
That would be interesting to watch.
Because he is such an underrated villain. The poor guy. I mean, he kills Qui-Gon. I mean, he's not no slouch.
No, they wasted him completely.
Oh God, yes, absolutely. And I get it because of the path they were going. George felt he needed to do that, and plus it also establishes Obi-Wan as a legit badass, even as a Jedi Knight versus a Master. But I feel like there's a lot you could do with him in a season.
Oh yeah. See, I went a completely different route. I actually want a comedy show. I want a comedy, and I want it to be like The Office, where it's kind of that documentary style, but it's Imperial soldiers who work on the Death Star. And the course of this season, we'll cover them from where they blow up Alderaan to when the Death Star gets blown up. And that's the last scene you see is them sitting there. You find out at the very end of it that one of the characters that's in the show, because it'll have multiple ones like the Office or something, right, where they talking like, hey, what about the insurance and all this kind of stuff and the construction on the Death Star? And at the very end of it, you see that one of them is the guy sitting there who's trying to fire the gun to destroy the rebel base, and everything explodes in his face. He's like, oh shit.
But do we have the conversation from Clerks where they just truly say whether they're independent contractors or not on that second Death Star?
That's the stuff you could bring up in this. That's why I want a 10-episode comedy of this. That's just like 40, 45-minute episodes, no commercials, and then just going through and just trying to live a day on the life of this Death Star. And they're like, oh man, there's Vader. Keep your head down.
Oh, low profile.
The boss is here.
For any of our younger listeners, if you have not watched Clerks 1, that scene alone, where they discuss the independent contractors in the Empire, where they're rebuilding the Death Star, that in itself.
You could have a scene of them down there trying to clean out the trash compactor after Han and Luke and Chewie just mess it all up and get out of there. They're like,
well, Chewbacca had shit. Chewbacca shit in that water. Let's be honest. And the mess a Wookiee can leave shitting. Like one of them just, oh, what did he do?
just
Who does this?
Just them talking about the real life of they've got the low level life of where they got to clean the trash compactor. They got to fire the gun. You got to sit there and get the TIE fighters in and out. And then Vader comes along and it's like, dude, you hear he choked out Tarkin the other day? Man, keep your head down. How much fun would that be just to watch that? Just for a quick comedy.
I would watch that. That would be. I wouldn't have went that route myself, but I would definitely watch it.
I was thinking about that the other day because they've made the scene from Clerks, and then you've got the whoever it was that made the Independent where the stormtroopers are on Tatooine looking for R2 and C-3PO. If you ever seen those on YouTube where they're joking around, those stuff like that, I would watch a show about that. Just a very quick.
I would like to see like it be MA-17 though.
Yeah.
I feel like because these are soldiers anyways, and anyone in the workplace knows how workplace talk goes. It's not exactly PG-13.
No.
So I would like to see that there. So maybe it doesn't need to be on Disney Plus, but HBO Max.
Yeah, it would be interesting to watch. But with that, I think we've run the course of our time here. But before we get out of here, let's give some shout out to some of our friends. Mr. Wes Hartman, comic creator of DC and Marvel renown, and of course his own Cosmic Roots imprint with series like The Savage Sasqanaut. You can find him on Facebook at Cosmic Root Studios or on Instagram at The Sasqanaut, and on his website, www.wes-hartman.com, where you can order all your copies of your books and trades. Mr. Chris Daly, host of the Fueled by Weird podcast. You can find him wherever you download your podcasts at Fueled by Weird and on Instagram at Fueled by Weird. Diorama builder and toy customizer Seth Stafford. You can find him on Instagram at Trophy Hunter Toys. Content creator and autism activist Miss Mandy Lynn, aka Kushimama. You can find her on Instagram at Kushimama and on YouTube at Doodle Story Reports and her new channel, The Collector Sector. And I think she should have another new episode coming up. Usually she records on Tuesday, so she might record the same time we are. August Aguilar from Strange Film Studios. Remember, keep an eye out for his newest project, The Gift. And I see you got the snazzy new stickers there.
Yeah, I got those in them. I actually went to the neighbor's house, and she was nice enough to bring them to me. She's an elderly lady, a few houses down, and she was like, "Hey, is this you?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, it is."
Unlike your Amazon package, she might be hoarding that one.
Yeah, she might have been a Mr. America fan.
Also, don't forget about Mr. James B. Jefferson, creator of Warrior Island. You can catch updates on the comic and the movie adaptation on his website at warriorisland.com. And last but not least, our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. You can find him on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
No Chinese Food!
Where he drops new reviews and unboxings of awesome items, as well as shares stories from the road and life of Big Rob. And lately been doing a lot of movie reviews, which are very interesting, especially if you want to go back and watch some old ones or hear about them without having to go watch them.
There you go.
And while you're at that, don't forget to check out our sponsors, The Zone Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs and help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. But Hassel, I have spoken enough now, so I'm going to let you tell everybody where they can find us at.
Well, while you're checking out The Zone, don't forget them on Spotlight Media, their new media page. They're partnered up with our other sponsor, Southern Joy Media, where you find us on Roku. So they're in conjunction with one another, so you'll see both. And you can find us on YouTube. They're in cahoots. But if you see that cow get lit up by the UFO, that's Spotlight Media. So you can find us there on the Roku channel. You can find us on YouTube on the Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Facebook, Hazel Hutchinson via the Nerdy Manroom Show, Instagram, the Nerdy Manroom Show, and Twitter, Nerdy MR Show. We're everywhere. Look us up. And we are very, very close to beating our gold monster.
Yeah, I haven't looked this week, so where are we at?
Let's take a look. Hit the old drum roll, because it was the other day it was getting on up there.
And while you're looking that up, we'll also say when you go to Southern Joy Media, don't forget to check out Hassel's reviews. And during Hassel's reviews, it also features the reviews from Big Rob as well. So make sure you check those out while you're on there.
So we are at 227 as of right now. So we are 23 people away, subscription-wise, from giving away an H4 autographed Tom Morga, Michael Myers, Revenge of Michael Myers mask. So hey, who else is giving shit away? Nobody.
But with that, that brings us to a close today. So join us here next time. We're going to discuss Marvel's Toy Biz days. Until then, may the 4th be with you.